Tired of trying diet after diet without results? Mochi Health offers a long-term weight loss solution personalized to your needs. Our board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians provide expert guidance to help you succeed. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medication at an affordable set price delivered monthly. Take our free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 for $40 off your first month. That's joinmochi.com.
Welcome to Ghostly.
Is the Whaley House haunted?
Prepare to shiver. Ghostly is your bi-weekly dose of the paranormal. We unearth chilling ghost stories and examine the evidence with a critical eye. Rebecca hunts down the legends, while I, your friendly neighborhood skeptic, poke holes in her theories. In the end, you, the listener, get to decide if it's genuine haunting or just purely made up. Click that subscribe button or follow button to always be in the loop of new creepy tales. As always, we're your host. I'm Pat.
And I'm Rebecca.
So, man, we have an episode. So how did we hear about this place?
This is actually a coworker of mine.
A coworker, okay.
Yeah, that suggested it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna share her name because I didn't ask her about that beforehand. But she was like, "Oh, have you talked about the Whaley House?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Well, that's like the most haunted house in the country."
Well, that's what they say. That's what they say. So, in the heart of Old Town San Diego, where the whispers of history mingle with the California sunshine, stands a grand old mansion with a story. Built in 1856 by a visionary entrepreneur named Thomas Whaley. The Whaley House has witnessed more than its fair share of life's triumphs and tragedies. But within its elegant walls, a darker tale unfolds, one of unexpected loss, lingering sorrow, and unsettling occurrences that have earned it its reputation as one of the most haunted homes in America. It's not a home anymore, though. But yeah. Prepare to step back in time and uncover the secrets of the Whaley House, where the past refuses to be forgotten.
Ooh.
So this is the part where we usually do shout-outs on Ghostly. We don't have any today. The first way is to give us a review on Apple Podcast. The second way is to become a member on Patreon. So we would appreciate either of those.
Absolutely. We love reviews. And of course, we love people on Patreon if you want some ad-free early episodes.
Yeah. I know the ads can be a bit much sometimes. So, I mean, it's not crazy bad expensive to get ad-free on here.
Absolutely.
It just helps us cover the bills that we would be getting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would love to do listener mail. We don't have any today.
We haven't had any in a while, so we're really desperate for some listener mail.
We want to hear your stories.
Yeah.
So if you have a ghost story or something you thought was a ghost that turned out not to be.
Yeah, a skeptic story.
Skeptic's Day is coming up
soon.
It is almost Skeptic's Day.
Yeah.
We always want to hear your stories, so you can send those to us by email at info@ghostlypodcast.com, or you can go on our contact us form.
Yeah, it's not a contest.
No.
But, I mean, but it could be one day.
It could be.
Yeah.
Ghostlypodcast.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always like receiving stuff in the actual mail, too. So if you're that kind of person that likes to send postcards, cards, letters, snacks for Rebecca, coffee, she'd always appreciate that. You can send it to P.O. Box number 264 in Geneva, Illinois, 60134. You're not going to remember any of that. What can they do to find that information?
Just go to ghostlypodcast.com, go to the bottom of the page on that footer, right?
Yeah,
that's
the footer.
They call it. It's got all of it there.
Yep,
or you can DM us on social media. That's
you
also
can.
fun.
Yeah.
Ghostly Podcast. All right. So now it's Pat's favorite part of the episode?
I never liked this part of the episode. I feel so judged. I feel so called out in this section.
I see. Even though you do, in fact, win sometimes.
And I'm the one that created this idea. So, I mean.
All right. Well, in our last episode, we talked about the Napoleon House in NOLA.
Which Napoleon was never at.
No, but they were hoping.
Yeah. So.
If we build it, will he come?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing to want, to be honest.
Yeah.
But...
I'm going to call my house the Miley Kunis house. Right?
Oh, I see. Yes. That's
hoping that one day.
Mm-hmm. I'll call mine the Pedro Pascal house.
Oh, okay. There you go.
We'll see.
Have they done a movie together? They should.
Maybe.
Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
All right. So votes were yes, 52%, and no, 48%.
Wow.
So pretty close, but just over.
Yeah.
On that yes side.
And if you've listened to Ghostly before, we do ratings on each bit of evidence. And then the overall episode, we give a rating of how much we believe that it's haunted. I can give zeros. Unfortunately, on these polls, you cannot give a 0. You can only do a 1. So it is at 4.2.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that's pretty much right in the middle there.
Absolutely. Now, if we're about to talk about some hauntings.
Okay.
If you want to vote, listener,
yes,
for your vote to count next episode,
yes,
where can they go, Pat?
Yeah, you can go to ghostlypodcast.com and click on polls.
Yeah. Or ghostlypodcast.com/polls.
Yeah, you could do that if you're
want to type
cool,
a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So I would like to also say in here that there are some trigger warnings for this particular episode, one of them being suicide. Mm-hmm. If you're sensitive to suicide, you might want to skip this episode.
And, it's not back in the day, children having sad outcomes was a thing.
Yeah.
So, but if that's a thing...
Yeah.
So, again, it's a good story, but obviously we're talking about ghosts. There's some sad things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So you ready for a ghost story?
Yes, I am.
It's time for a spooky tale from Rebecca.
I never believed in ghosts, not really. But when my sister insisted we take the nighttime tour of the Whaley House, I figured, why not? It's just an old house. The air inside was heavy, thick with history. The guide's voice echoed as she spoke of tragic deaths. I tried to focus on the facts, but something felt off. The air had weight, as if unseen eyes pressed against my skin. It was in the parlor that I first heard it, a whisper, faint, almost like a breath against my ear. I turned sharply, but there was no one behind me. My sister was just busy snapping pictures. The tour guide droned on, but I knew I had heard something. We moved into the courtroom where Thomas Whaley once held trials. That's when the temperature dropped. A shadow flickered in my peripheral vision. A tall figure, too tall, loomed in the doorway for the briefest moment. My stomach clenched. "Did you see that?" I whispered to my sister. "See what?" she murmured, eyes still glued to her camera. The others walked ahead, leaving me alone for just a moment. That's when the scent hit me. Strong, acrid cigar smoke curling in the air. My breath caught. Then a pressure on my chest, as if invisible hands pressed against me. My vision blurred. The whisper came again, low, drawn out. My name. I ran. I didn't care if I looked ridiculous. I burst through the front door, gasping for the cool night air. My sister followed, laughing, until she saw my face. "Hey," "What's wrong?" she asked. I opened my mouth to tell her, but then she looked down at her camera screen and went pale. The last photo she took in the courtroom showed me standing alone, but behind me in the doorway was a figure, tall, shadowed, grinning, and I swear to you, it was looking right at me.
Wow. So, this is based upon a ghost story that I'm assuming, and you've exaggerated that a bit.
Well, not necessarily this particular piece, but the things that happened in this story are things that people claim.
But you made this in story form,
right?
So slightly fictionalize the ghost stories.
Yeah, so we'll be hearing more about some of these different kinds of sightings.
I just don't want people to judge everything by your ghost story alone, because it is semi-fictionalized. So, right? I mean,
I don't know.
And we did have the one person contact us the one time and asked if their family member really did do something. That was creepy.
Yeah, that was really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of creepy, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to get to the history.
Facts. From a skeptic point of view. Facts. He presents it all to you. Facts.
All right, Rebecca, are you ready for some pet facts?
Pet facts.
All right, so we're going to be talking about the Whaley House. Obviously, that's the episode. You saw the name.
Yes.
The year is 1856.
Okay.
And San Diego, right, is a town on the cusp of transformation. The remnants of its Spanish and Mexican heritage lingering in Old Town's adobe structures and sun-baked plazas. But a new era is dawning. Frame buildings are rising. English is becoming more common, and the gold rush has brought a wave of ambitious entrepreneurs seeking fortune and opportunity. Among them, a man named Thomas Whaley. He embodied the spirit of the changing time. He was born in New York City, in 1823. He hails from a family with a legacy of enterprise and patriotism. His great-grandfather even supplied muskets to the Continental Army during the Revolution. Thomas himself is a seasoned businessman, having braved the journey to San Francisco during the gold rush and later establishing himself in San Diego. He's a man of vision, driven to build a life for himself and his family in this burgeoning town.
And I was just looking at this because I thought this was close. 1850 is when California became a state.
Yeah.
So this was
early on.
Really, hot times.
Yeah. And, California is a lot of desert land and stuff like that. So, I mean, just think of the trek from New York City all the way to San Diego.
I'm sure most people didn't even make it, whether they stopped and decided to live somewhere on the way or didn't make it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just, that must have taken forever because there was no cars. There was obviously no planes. There was
horse
not
and
a
buggy.
single luxury. You know?
Yeah.
Like Robinson Crusoe,
primitive
as can be. Right?
Yes.
But Thomas is not just a businessman. He's a husband and a father. He has returned to New York to marry his beloved Anna Eloise Delaunay. And together, they have brought their young family to San Diego.
Wow, so they traveled with a family
With a family, too, yeah. Probably horse and carriage or buggy, whatever they had,
I don't know if there's how much trains there are.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because of the gold rush, maybe. I don't know.
But it's whatever it is, it's a hard journey for sure.
But they longed for a home that reflects their aspirations and provides a haven for their growing brood. And so in 1856, on a plot of land in Old Town, Thomas Whaley began to build his dream. He envisioned a grand residence, the finest in Southern California, a symbol of his success and a testament to his love for his family. With bricks from his own brickyard, he constructs a magnificent 2-story mansion in the Greek Revival style, a nod to the architectural trends of his time in New York. They finished construction in 1857, which I would have to say, building a house within a year, that had to be something back then.
Absolutely, especially a grand scale home.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. The Whaley House, as it came to be known, I guess it wasn't known as that right away. It's a marvel of its time. Its stately columns, intricate molding, and elegant furnishings set it apart from the more modern dwellings of the era. It became a social hub where community gathered for theatrical performances, dances, and even court proceedings. It was also a general store for the community.
So that's interesting. So he builds this really big house, but I think it's smart to build this big house, but then you're like, but I'm also going to make it a courthouse. I'm also going to make it a store, so you're making money on it.
And putting himself right in the, heart of San Diego community. Then.
Yeah.
The Whaleys welcomed their children into the grand home. We have Francis Hinton in 1854, Thomas Jr. in 1856, and Anna Amelia in 1858. Later, George Hayes Ringgold joined the family in 1860, followed by Violet Eloise in 1862 and Corinne Lillian in 1864. The house echoes with children's laughter and the warmth of family life.
I mean, I'm sure, to get known as the Whaley House, they had a big family, again, a store, all of that. It makes sense. It was a good time for a little while.
Yeah. But tragedy soon cast a long shadow over the Whaley family. In 1858, young Thomas Jr., just 18 months old at that time, succumbed to scarlet fever within the house's wall, which was prevalent back then, especially in that region.
Yeah, definitely.
The loss is devastating, a stark reminder of life's fragility in this untamed land of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
A fire in 1868 destroyed part of the house, forcing the family to relocate to, get this, San Francisco.
Whoa.
Oh, my God. But think of that journey, too.
Yeah, they're not that close.
That's not close.
No, I'm guessing LA wasn't what it is because they didn't stop there. They kept going to San Francisco.
LA was a lot of desert, though.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think they had to build that up still.
Yeah.
But this was only temporary. They rebuilt and returned. The Whaley House seemed to bear the weight of their sorrows, though. So I found some interesting things here. There was some conflict in this town too, where you think he had this perfect life, right?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, his son died. That was obviously not perfect, but I mean, he built this house with courthouse in it and theater in it and everything.
I mean, obviously they have enough money. Even though it burns, some of it burns down, they can move to San Francisco and rebuild and move back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, in between 1870 and 1871, the Whaley House becomes embroiled in this dispute between Old Town and what is now Newtown residents.
Old Town versus Newtown.
Over the location of the country courthouse or the county courthouse.
Okay.
1871, amidst the ongoing dispute, armed men seize county records from the Whaley House, effectively shifting the power to Newtown and marking a turning point in San Diego's development. This event culminated in a power struggle between Old Town and Newtown, with Republicans favoring Newtown and Democrats supporting Old Town. The battle played out in the courts, with conflicting orders issued, including one for the sheriff to seize the Whaley House, which he refused, actually.
Wow. So that's interesting. Because, if you think about it, I can understand why as the town's growing and new people are moving in, you're kind of like, well, hey, I don't necessarily know that I need the aristocracy, old rich family to be the ones to have the courthouse.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
It's like the Whaleys.
Yeah.
Years later, in 1885, another tragedy struck. Violet, heartbroken after a failed marriage, which marriages, like they didn't end very easily back then, too.
I read about this a little bit. That her husband left her pretty quickly after the marriage.
Okay,
but back then it wasn't. It was like as a woman, you didn't like go seek divorce. Like you were supposed to just be like, oh, he's traveling or whatever.
He's coming back.
Yeah. But no, she served him with divorce papers.
Wow.
But then people were like, ooh, you're a bad person.
And they didn't even have the court in their own house at that time. I mean, geez. So
people didn't like her after that.
Yeah. Well, she took her own life in the house. Despondent and disillusioned, she leaves behind a suicide note quoting Thomas Hood's poem.
Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled anywhere out of the world.
Yes. So we're definitely going to put suicide prevention hotline in the show notes.
Yeah.
I think can't you do like 611 or something now?
I should know that.
Yeah, just look it up while we're moving here. The weight of these losses take its toll on Thomas Whaley. He builds a new home in downtown San Diego, leaving the Whaley House vacant for a time. He passed away in 1890, never to return to the home that he had witnessed both his greatest joys and his deepest sorrows in. In 1909, Thomas's son, Francis, restored it and eventually opened it as a museum in 1960. Today, the Whaley House stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of the Whaley family and the rich history of San Diego. It is a museum operated by Historic Tours of America, Inc., and maintained by the Save Our Heritage organization, or SOHO. Visitors can explore the house and its grounds, immersing themselves in the stories and events that shaped its past. The museum offers a variety of experiences. One of them is a daytime self-guided tour. I actually like those too, especially the ones where you can wear headphones and they walk you around.
And kind of choose what you want to,
So their visitors can explore the house at their own pace, taking in the historical details and atmosphere. To me, sometimes those tours seem rushed and I don't get to see everything, so this is better for me.
Well, and you can choose. Like if something isn't all that interesting to you, you can move on and spend more time.
Yeah, maybe you're not into art and there's a big art exhibit here or something.
There's a lot of dolls.
Oh, geez.
Just as a heads up, Bob.
Yeah, Bob would love this place then. They have evening guided tours. These tours delve into the house's haunted reputation, sharing stories of paranormal encounters and the tragic events that befell the Whaley family. And then after hours paranormal investigations, probably for a little bit more money, I'm assuming. For those seeking a spooky thrill, these investigations provide an opportunity to explore the house after dark, like Bob, and potentially experience paranormal activity firsthand.
So, I was reading about it's like a lot of places now where they give you some equipment and, that kind of stuff. So you can do an investigation.
Yeah, that's always nice. I mean, if you haven't done your own paranormal investigation, I would definitely recommend it at least once. I will tell you that it's difficult because what did Jack say? It was like
a bird watching,
like bird watching, yeah.
like where you're trying to get that right photograph, and so you basically have to sit for like 8 hours, and look, and maybe you'll get a photo.
Yeah, but this is even worse because you don't see the photo right away. You go back and you have to look at footage
and hope that you got something.
Yeah. So
it does take some patience, but but at least with this, it's like you don't have to invest in a bunch of equipment yourself. So you can see if you like it.
Yeah. So I know you had something to add, and I know that this is debated a little bit. I
think
it might not be fact, but it is some kind of story with the house.
Well, I think here's the thing. I don't think that anyone disputes that this happened. What we're not sure of is if it happened on the site of the Whaley House.
Yeah.
Like, I think this happened. It's just maybe there's not a...
But knowing that it was a courthouse at one time, it could have. Then.
It could have. I mean, I don't know. The dates, it's kind of hard to know. By the way, a couple things really quick. Number one, the transatlantic or Trans-Pacific Railroad was not done until like maybe 10 years after they built the house.
Okay.
So I think there were railroads, but like it wasn't like you could just like take a train from New York to California.
Yeah.
Also, 988 is the number to call.
988. I knew it was something like that.
Having any mental health issues. But here we go. Here's the story. So James Yankee Jim Robinson.
Oh, I like him already.
I know.
Jim.
Yankee Jim. He was a horse thief from Northern California who escaped.
No good horse thief.
No good horse thief. He escaped law enforcement and fled to San Diego in 1852.
So that's what they accused Billy the Kid of being, was a horse thief.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Once in San Diego, he teamed up with 2 other men to steal a rowboat, but they were quickly captured and put on trial.
So he likes transportation.
He really wants to steal transportation methods, yes. Yankee Jim was sentenced to death by hanging, which seems, I'm going to say, a bit extreme. I mean, I don't know, maybe he killed people, but like that's not mentioned.
We don't know what he did with those horses or the rowboat, so I'm just going to say, okay.
But he laughed at the judge, not believing he'd actually be executed, but as it turned out, he was wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was taken to the gallows, which was across from the El Campo Santo cemetery, which the house is by a cemetery. Yeah. So he was, okay, so again, little ears, if there's any, this gets a little bit, and placed on a mule cart with a noose around his neck. But the hangman failed to account for his height of 6'4". As a result, Yankee Jim's feet were just able to touch the ground, causing him to suffer a slow and agonizing death. One newspaper reported on the hanging and how Yankee Jim kept his feet in the wagon as long as possible, but was finally pulled off. He swung back and forth like a pendulum until he strangled to death. So some say that Thomas Whaley was in the audience for the hanging, but I found that was just like one article I found that said that. I think nobody else is
speculatory.
It's very speculatory on that part of it.
So, I mean, but the house was not built in 1852. No, so it would have been just a plot of land that somehow becomes a courthouse.
Right.
So it's, I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, so... Well, and this will come back once we get to the ghost stories. So
yeah, I think that's it for the history.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
I mean, just what an interesting house.
Yeah,
like property. I love San Diego. It's a great place.
I have never been to San Diego.
It's the best weather.
I want to go to the Comic-Con there too.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe try to ghostly that up someday, and then definitely make it to the Whaley House, because looking at the pictures, it looks really beautiful.
Yeah. But the weather is always in like the 70s or something like that.
It's literally like perfect weather every day.
Wow.
Pretty much.
So you San Diego people, if you want to house us,
right?
Let us know.
Let us know.
Especially if you live in a luxurious house that has a courthouse,
has a store and a courthouse and a theater.
You have to have a theater for me.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we return, Rebecca's going to give us some evidence that there might be a ghost there or something.
Yes.
All right. All right, it's time for a debate.
All right. So, we just talked about Yankee Jim.
Yankee Jim. Did he make candles too?
You know what? Who knows?
Yankee Jim's Candles becomes Yankee Candles then?
I mean, maybe.
Not a sponsor, but they can be. I would just ask that they do some kind of ghostly scent.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, supposedly from the first day in the house, Thomas Whaley felt that it was haunted, and they say that maybe he feared that Yankee Jim was the one haunting it. Again, I'm not as sure about that, but he did talk about feeling like it had a haunted feel to it, and Anna also sensed a negative presence in the home. Supposedly maybe Yankee Jim's violent death put a curse on the land that would haunt the Whaley family when they lived in the house. So Thomas Whaley said that he often heard the sound of heavy footsteps stomping through the second floor and on the staircase when no one else was around.
Interesting. So there's a lot that could be happening in this particular house. I mean, a lot of this is subjective, though, because it really depends on what we what we believe is happening. I mean, it's all going to be left up to interpretation at the end, but I would say that because if he was at the hanging or heard of the hanging of Yankee Jim, that could affect how he feels about the house. I mean, I have often pondered about houses that I've lived in or apartments that I've lived in. Did somebody die in this house? And would that change the way that I felt? I might be a little bit more uneasy, just slightly, but it's enough to, make things a little weird sometimes. So that's my thought of it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, whatever it was, they didn't feel scared enough that they felt the need to leave. Yeah. I mean, again, from the beginning, they thought it had a weird energy and, thought they heard these footsteps, which, others, today also feel those things, it continues. So, so what's your rating for this one?
I'm going to go 1 on this one, just because I don't think that there is enough to say that it even happened, that he was scared of this, or it could just be people talking afterwards. We don't have Thomas Whaling, a recording of him saying this. So
true. I'm
just going to say that I'm going to give it a 1.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Now, for the next few pieces of evidence, yes. I found a lot of stories on Reddit. Who doesn't love a good Reddit comment?
All right. Absolutely.
So Reddit and other websites, though the ones that I'm pulling are from Reddit, claiming they've had ghostly experiences.
Okay.
At the Whaley House.
All
ding,
right.
ding, 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 ding. Okay. So we'll start with a comment posted 2 years ago on Reddit by No M Only Zool.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to have to slightly edit this because there are some bad words.
Oh, okay.
So this person says yes, because someone posted a question. Hey, has anyone been to the Whaley House? Is it haunted? Have you seen things? So they say yes. Been there a few times and the energy is palpable. Good and bad vibes. The staircase was the most intense experience for me. As I descended down the steps, I felt as if someone was right on my buttocks.
Yeah.
Almost as if someone was in a hurry to get past me. I turned around expecting to see a tourist in my personal space, and there was absolutely no one on the stairs, in all caps.
Wow.
I felt queasy as I took the last few steps. I actually had to leave the house immediately. I felt a sharp cramping sensation in my gut and an anxiousness to GTFO of there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So there you go.
Get the fries out of the house.
Get the fries out. Yes. Yeah.
Because you want to eat them elsewhere.
Right.
And not in that house.
Not in there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is a very interesting story. So I know a lot of people talk about like how they feel in this house. Also, there are people that claim that there's some energy vortexes going on in this house.
Almost everyone that tells a ghost story talks about the energy.
Yeah. So I'm going to tackle that one first. Okay. So that can actually be explained by psychological effects and factors. There could be these, and this is going to make this is going to be another microclimate thing. There could be these things like natural electromagnetic fields that cause these feelings in people. And it is a known scientific fact that there are areas where people just naturally feel off and don't feel well. And it could just be because of various different things. What are the plates underneath the earth, especially when we're talking, California too. That can be something to do with it. It could be just a weird energy zone.
Okay.
Sometimes that can be caused from a valley or a dip or something like that. Sometimes sometimes it's man-made because of how we have put electricity into different places.
Okay.
Sometimes it could just be like live wires or something that might be triggering it. But a lot of people get this. It can also be a placebo effect too. There can also be people that believe in, they've heard these stories of these energy feelings and they don't want to feel left out. But they do this subconsciously. They don't think about it. They don't think I'm going to be lying about this. They feel disappointed when they're not, and they kind of do then. They kind of do feel it.
So we're going to call this NEF, natural no electromagnetic
fields.
field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The NEF.
The NEF.
The NEF.
It is a real deal, real science there.
Okay.
Not supernatural, natural or man-made.
Okay.
All right.
So from now on, Pat's going to be like, "Neff, it's a Neff, it's a Neff."
I'm not going to remember that.
I won't either.
Yeah.
Okay. So that for you explains the bad feeling. What about being touched?
Yeah. Well, that can also cause that too.
Whoa.
But
Make
also
you feel
too,
like you got touched?
Yeah. Also too, there could be some kind of natural explanation for it. So moving objects or flickering lights are things that people sometimes equate to haunted places. But they could be explained by simple things like drafts, faulty wiring, or even deliberate pranks that are played on people. It is also too that, you feel a little creeped out when you're in this particular place because of the NEFs. And I need to make that a part of my vocabulary now.
Yes.
And because of the NEFs, you just, you're like, you know what? What was that? And you feel like something's touching you. If you're really tensed up, anything can feel like something. It could be wind that just touches you.
All right. So, I mean, for me, this one is, there's a few stories similar to this that are out there where people feel like they've been touched. The staircase is a place that Thomas himself felt was something.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, again, there's been tragedy at the house, and I feel like there's more to it than just some extra energy.
Okay.
So
I'm going to give this one a 0 because the NEF, the NEFs have it.
Okay. I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8. Okay.
There you go. All right. So next one is another comment.
Okay.
From Animal Style. 1 year ago. Animal. All right. My first tour at the house was in 2011. My friend and I were standing on the sidewalk in between the house and the little convenience store.
Oh, such innocent 2011.
Yes.
Before COVID,
Right?
Oh my God. Can you remember that life?
No,
I mean,
don't.
geez. Okay.
Yeah. Just far enough away that we could see both buildings, but still fairly close so we could hear when the tour was about to start. I was just looking around, people watching and talking to my friend. I'm very sensitive when it comes to smells like cigarettes or cigar smoke. I smelled a faint cigar smell, and then it got significantly stronger to where I was getting annoyed at who just stood next to us to smoke so openly. But no one was around us. At peak irritation, I thought nothing more of it and figured the person who was smoking had walked down the street. The smell would eventually dissipate. And I was just ready to get the tour started. Later on in the tour, our guide mentioned that Mr. Whaley liked to smoke cigars and would only appear to women. Thinking about it still gives me chills. So I picked this as an example of one of the very common ghost mentions, stories, whatever that people say, which is that they smell cigar smoke, but with no clear thing to attribute it to.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say that I'm sure in the history of this house being, 175 years old, I'm just doing quick math in my head. I could be off on those numbers. Even if it's 110 years old, it's still old, it's still pretty old.
No, 150. I mean, because 18, whatever.
175. That's what I'm just,
we'll go with that.
So in that time, I'm sure somebody smoked in that house, and smoke can linger and it can come out with temperature changes and stuff like that. But also too, I just want to say that the historical context of the place, because of its rich history and some events, can make people think these kind of things. It's been long debated if this place has been haunted. But this place is very interesting because it happened to be built right around the time of the spiritual movement too. So again, that could be the reason.
One of the many spiritual movements.
But the spiritual movement in the United States area. This is the one that got a hold of, Mary Todd Lincoln, for those, Anyways, I'm just thinking out loud that this could be just somebody interpreting something that's a natural phenomenon.
All right. Well, I mean, again, for me, this is, we often hear, these things where like, oh, people say that they smell cigar smoke, right? But I read, and this is the one I picked, several examples of people being like, yeah, I was there and I smelled cigar smoke and there was no one around that doing that. And I don't know, it seems like, again, 175 years old. I don't think anyone's been smoking in there since the 1960s. And I can't imagine that it would randomly
it can
come
linger.
out.
It can linger in a house. Really, it can.
Well, also, this person was outside in between like the house and the store, I guess. So,
and nobody smokes at the store?
I don't think so. I mean, and again, cigars, that's a really specific smell.
Well, I don't know.
But
that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give it a 0.
All right. I'm giving it a 7.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. We got a couple more, right?
Okay.
I got one more Reddit.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is a person made a comment and then someone replied to their comment. Okay. So the first one is getting daily fiber.
Getting daily fiber?
Is the name of the user.
Oh, okay. I was like, they get their daily fiber from the Whaley House? What?
Posted this as a comment 1 year ago. Said, I definitely heard and saw a person walking in the courthouse while I was in the courthouse. Blinked and they were gone. No kidding. I almost pooped myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Probably because of the fiber that he had. All that fiber causes that.
And then a reply to that from Phosphoromances.
Ooh.
Same a year ago said, similar story here. Was sitting in the steps during the 4th grade tour and turned to look inside. Saw a full courtroom with dozens of people dressed in period garb. Blinked and they were gone. Never experienced anything like that before or since. So both of these people were walking by the courthouse, like looked, saw something, and when they blinked, it was gone.
I don't know, because this is 2 people that are talking about this event. So I don't know who these people are. I don't know what kind of psychological factors that they might be under. So I'm not accusing. I don't know. I have no way of knowing this. I don't know these people. I don't know if they're honest people. I agree that you should have, your daily fiber, but not so much so that you're pooping your pants everywhere you go.
That's true.
Daily fiber, dude. Be cautious of that. Maybe have some cheese. That is what I'm going to say. I don't know. This is one of those kind of things. Okay, how am I going to debate what an individual says? So I'm just going to say that it's intriguing, but it's important to approach these kind of things with a critical and discerning mind. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say I'll give it a 1.
All right. 2 1s in an episode. Oh my!
It's happened before.
Okay. I'm going to give this one an 8.
Okay.
Again, especially because they're 2 different people that don't know each other.
Yeah.
All right. I've got one more here.
Yes.
And this is just going back to kind of like a common story. We're getting away from Reddit here. So supposedly there's a sad looking woman who, people believe is Violet, right?
Yeah.
Because that's would make sense. Occupies the 2nd floor. And that, again, going back to that mood, right, that people feel, that even when she's not seen, people say they feel her presence, that sad presence. Many guests in the home have been overwhelmed with unbearable sadness on the 2nd level, and sometimes extreme temperature drops.
Okay, yeah. So that's a lot of different things in there. Yes, Violet's suicide was undoubtedly tragic.
Mm-hmm.
That was that I wasn't expecting to hear of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide happens. It's very unfortunate, and the people that remain afterwards are traumatized almost as much as the person that did it afterwards. It leaves a lasting effect on people, even people that don't know the person. Even hearing the story of this poor woman that lost her marriage, filed divorce papers back in those days, which was unheard of.
Was an outcast then.
Yeah, because she would have been like, a spinster woman or something back then. That is very, very tragic. And I get that people would want to attribute things to it. There's a couple different things. Sometimes the feeling of uneasiness, the cold spots, or unexplained noises can be attributed to various factors like drafts, old plumbing, or the power of just suggestion.
Or Neff, or what is it again?
Neffs, yeah. Neffs. The Whaley House is a popular tourist attraction, though, right? Mm-hmm. It is labeled as the most haunted home in America. Its haunted reputation undoubtedly contributes to its appeal. People go there for this particular reason, not just because it's a beautiful house. When you go to the Winchester Mystery House, you're going there because it's crazy too, you know? That's why they go here. It creates a financial incentive to perpetuate the ghost stories, and regardless of their validity. So the place itself will keep these stories going and stuff. I also think that there's just so many other factors involved in this particular thing, and we have no scientific evidence. Despite numerous investigations and paranormal enthusiast claims, there's no concrete scientific evidence to support the existence of ghosts or hauntings in the Whaley House at this point. So I've seen a lot of investigations, but nothing could ever hold up to scientific reasoning. It crumbles when we talk about that. So therefore, I'm going to probably say this is more of a psychological thing than anything else, and I'm going to give it a 0.
Okay. Again, for me, it makes sense that this poor girl and her energy is there. And that's what is contributing to what people feel when they're up there on that second floor. And, the cold spots is a common, thing that we hear with ghosts. So I'm going to give this one a 6.
Okay. I would just... So 6, I'm surprised you didn't give it like an 8 or something like that. This one seems to have a little bit more bones than the rest almost,
Well, I mean, but this one, we don't have a story of a person saying
don't. And also there's no video. I haven't seen any pictures. I know that there are some pictures.
There are some pictures.
But that was not presented to me.
No, I chose
not to. I try my best not to look up the spooky stories unless I accidentally stumble upon it in my research.
Yeah.
I really, as soon as I hear something haunted thing, I will, like I heard about Yankee Jim and his candles, and I purposely didn't read that because I was like, I can't validate Yankee Jim and his death there. Also, I don't want to know anything about his ghost stories because I want you to present it to me. Right. So what did you get? You gave it a 6 though.
Yeah.
Okay. What about overall? How would you say you were going to rate this overall?
Overall, you know what? It's a little interesting. I'm gonna give it an 8. Right. Even though I didn't give all of the evidence an 8, I feel like when you put it all together, there's just when I do this research, I don't always see all these stories. So, anyways, I'm giving it an 8. How about for you?
So my skeptics are going to probably hate me for this, but I'm going to do something different than I usually do. What? Okay, I am going to vote this overall rating on the desire I have for it to be haunted. Okay. Given that it's one of the most haunted homes in America or the world, I'm going to give it a 2. I didn't give anything a 2. Whoa. I'm going to give it a 2.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did. It did. It's just because of my sheer want. Okay. I know you guys think that I poo-poo everything and the poo-poo platter. But here's the thing. I actually want there to be proof. I would love there to be proof. And I'm waiting for one day someone to prove something with this or something else. And so far, in 160 episodes now, I have not seen this proof. And I'm waiting, and I'm anticipating that one day you're still going to hear me say no, that there's no ghost. But all right, that brings us to the closing arguments. This is our last chance to convince you to vote our way. We are given 1 minute of uninterrupted time, Rebecca. We're going to time each other on Ghostly Studio timer to keep everyone honest. Rebecca, are you ready?
Okay.
Remember, you're going to hear a beep at 2 and then 1 and then go.
All right.
And you will hear that at the end if you make it that far in this. All right. And...
All right, here we go. So to me, this is one of the more haunted places that I've researched. And a big part of that is, oftentimes when I'm doing this research, right, I find the same stories over and over again. And there's really not necessarily people attributed to these ghost stories. And that's still interesting. And I find that interesting and compelling evidence. But in this case, I immediately found pages and pages of people saying, oh, yeah, when I was there, this is what I saw. Now, there were also people in those comments saying, hey, I went and I saw nothing. But it was still a great place to go. But it was shocking to me how many people were posting about, yep, I saw this, I experienced that, I felt this. So to me, definitely one of the more haunted places that we've researched. So that's why I gave it an 8. It's this place is haunted.
All right. Well, you didn't quite make it to the buzzer there, but you were pretty close that time. So, all right.
You ready?
I am ready. I'm going to hit the button though.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to say, ultimately, the question of whether the Whaley House is truly haunted, and just like most of our episodes, remains open to interpretation. There's not much I can say that'll prove to the believers that want it to be haunted that it is not haunted. And that's fine. That is okay. I want you to have these stories. I want you to have something that you can believe in and something that, gives you a little interest throughout the day. There was also a claim that the Whaley House was officially certified as haunted by the U.S. Department of Commerce, which you didn't bring up.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But that is a misinterpretation. The Department of Commerce never officially declared the house haunted.
Oh.
So although it had the opportunity to, there's just too many events in this house that give you confirmation bias. Makes you think that something should be there. So it leads you to misinterpretations. And I'm going to wait and done.
Wow, you took a whole minute.
I know, I never take a whole minute.
Usually.
I tried to push this one out a little bit though. So don't let your friends miss out on the chills. Share Ghostly with them and help us grow this community of paranormal enthusiasts. Your support means the world to us. Shout out to our VIP producers who make this all possible. We have Andrew,
Alicia,
Becky,
Cindy,
Kevin,
Jessica,
Alice,
Aaron,
and Hope. Is it real? You be the judge. Share your verdict at ghostlypodcast.com poll section and let the debate continue.
Yeah, let us know.
Because as I said, it is open to interpretation. We want to know your interpretation.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Ghostly now and get ready for more spine-tingling encounters with the unknown. This actually, we should have done this episode at least 100 episodes earlier.
I know. I don't know why it took us so long. No wonder my coworker's like, really? You've not done this one?
Yeah, so please send in your suggestions too. We do have a place on the website to do that, but just DM us.
Yeah, whatever.
And Rebecca keeps a log of this. I'm letting Rebecca pick more of the episodes so that there is no bias on my
more
account.
hunting.
Occasionally, I will throw a suggestion out there, but I always bring it up to Rebecca and ask her first if she wants to do that. There has been some that we were going to do that last minute we didn't do because we didn't find enough evidence.
Yes.
So just so you know, we are cherry picking these. So
we want them to be interesting.
Yeah, we do, definitely.
All right. So on the next episode of Ghostly, we will be talking about the Manteno State Hospital. Manteno is what I meant to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because this is a Chicago area episode. Yeah. We're coming back home. So Manteno State Hospital, and it comes out on March 26th.
Ooh, maybe we could see if we can get a special Chicago voice on here.
Ooh, that would be
talk
fun.
About this.
Yeah.
I don't know if him, the one that sings the songs sometimes,
that would be
has
good.
any knowledge of this, but I'm sure he would know of the area.
I'm sure, and would have thoughts.
And maybe a song for us,
There you go.
Until next time, stay ghostly.
Bye.